Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Vocal. Welcome back to the second video for Habit 3. And now we're going to go back and take a look at that time matrix one more time. So just a moment while I share my screen with you. Okay, as Dr. Covey mentioned, we have two continuums. We have a continuum that goes from urgent to not urgent, and one that goes from not important to important. Quadrant 1 is for things that are both urgent and important. Your child falls at school and breaks a limb. Someone has to be hospitalized. An order goes awry for your largest client. A machine breaks down. Urgent and important things happen. I always say that falls under the category of S happens. Okay, stuff is going to happen. About 30% of your time, really, no matter what you do, is going to end up being spent in quadrant 1 for urgent and important. Quadrant 2 is for things that are not urgent but are important. And most of the really great things in life belong in this quadrant. For example, going to training or to classes or to school. Those are usually things which are not urgent but are super important in overall quality of life. Time spent with family and friends, true recreation. Those are things that are not urgent but are important. Things that are maybe not so popular, contingency plans, policies and procedures, things that you really need to have in place for things to go smoothly, but they're usually not urgent. Next is things that are urgent but not important. Since this video was made about 12 years ago, it's important to realize that we have more and more things that are urgent but not important. Think about your cell phone. How many times a day do you get the ding telling you that you have a text message? How many of those text messages are truly important? What about notifications from Facebook or Instagram? How many of those messages are truly important? And yet, how often do we put down the important thing that we're doing to check those messages? And then finally, quadrant 4 is for things that are not urgent and not important. That's for the 12-hour Law and Order marathon that you watched all weekend. Now, don't get me wrong, watching an hour or two of TV can be true recreation and can belong in quadrant 2. But wasting an entire weekend without doing anything but watch TV shows you've already seen before, hours and hours surfing the net without actually accomplishing something, those are things that are considered waste and excess. The ideal measurements, you should spend about 30% of your time in quadrant 1, about 10% of your time in quadrant 3, probably 0% of your time in quadrant 4, and a whopping 60% of your time in quadrant 2. So let me just very quickly write those in for you. So this should be 30%. This should be 60%. This should be 10%. And this should be 0. Hopefully that will help you. Okay, so if you think, oh my gosh, my job would never allow me to spend 60% of my time in quadrant 2 because I spend all day putting out fires. Many, many people will say that. But if you think about what a police department or a fire department literally do, they don't spend most of their day putting water on fires. They spend most of their days trying to prevent fires and planning and doing maintenance and training. So really, a firefighter's job is to spend most of their time in quadrant 2. So what I'm going to show you now is a video about a police department in Richmond, British Columbia, which is in Canada. And they spend their time policing in quadrant 2. So let me stop sharing the slides. Hello. And now I'm going to share the video with you. This is called Q2 Policing.
The traditional law enforcement approach was wait in the bushes for someone to break the law so we can jump out and bust them. And that really isn't the smartest way to deal with community problems today.
Vancouver is one of the most culturally diverse cities in Canada. We've got people from all over the globe, from India, from Asia, from South America, and all that diversity is great, but it does come with some challenges.
Well, in the Richmond area, like others, we've had a lot of problems with gangs and other crime-related issues. We were finding we were reactive. We were going from call to call to call, putting on Band-Aids on problems and not really getting at the root of the problems. So we started asking questions, is there a better way, a different way to deal with problems? And we think we found the answer. We've tried to take the quantum leap and go one step further and say, you know, we're problem solvers. One of the exciting things we do every morning is we get together as a team. The intent behind this meeting is keep the little things little. We believe that if we focus on what's important and on the little things, the big things will go away. One of the things that happens at these meetings is that we all work towards solutions. So all of a sudden, somebody else is helping another unit leader with their solutions, and that's the magic. And so we all own the issue or the problem. We all deal with it. So our performance management is tenfold if we're visiting what matters most to us daily. We have adults, we have seniors, we have different cultures, and we have a number of preventative community policing initiatives that deal with issues. We deal with little things. We keep the little things little. That's really important to us. And a lot of times, little things mean starting with you. By the time they're 16 or 17, many of the youth are set in their ways. And we found if we can get to them before that age group, that we have a better chance of making a connection with them to maybe influence where they're going to go and their direction in life.
Well, there is no trust with the community. The community saw us as, you know, the bad guys, the ones arresting their friends. And quite frankly, we didn't trust them either. So, but that's why we built this environment where we can get to know each other.
Positive ticketing is basically the opposite of the traditional police ticket. Most people avoid the police and don't want the ticket. In this case, we want to do something positive where we reward people, youth, for doing good things, and we want to make it so when they see the police, they want to come to us, not run away from us. A lot of kids are curious about the police. They think things are cool and they want to ask questions, and then it's okay for them to do that.
The city of Richmond got together with us and we formed a partnership, and that's why we've got passes for the swimming pool, for skating.
One of the areas of the positive tickets are coming in well is with the groups that are hanging out outside of the community center itself.
I know the parents are very, very impressed. They think, wow, this is great. You know, the police are interacting with the kids, and you leave a great impression.
We're getting a lot of complaints about kids riding their bikes reportedly to be dangerous in the parks and along the store area, and that's when we realized we needed a place for them to ride safely. The kids got organized. We started doing models and mock-ups at the community center here. The kids did all the work themselves. They presented everything. The city councilors went for it. It was passed, and then the city donated these 2 lots, and there's a lot of kids that use this. Our calls for service virtually dropped off because the kids were coming down here.
Some of our community, they asked the question, well, so what? You're getting along better with the youth, but what real difference are you making? Well, I'll tell you, we're making one heck of a difference. We're building relationships and connections with young people. We're able to send positive messages to them. We're able to influence them in their decision making. We're able to prevent them from getting into not only crime, but possibly tragedy.
We have a group called Team Izzat, which means respect in Punjabi, Hindi, and several South Asian languages. What we're trying to do is we're trying to focus on the good kids and the borderline kids we're trying to reinforce to them to, stay on the good side, and that there is rewards of being good, and we're hoping that'll change the culture as far as like being cool to be good. Yeah, there are people who are saying, why aren't you going out there, shouldn't you be arresting the bad guys or dealing with the violent crimes? They don't see the other side of policing, which is trying to change the perception. And that when they see us connecting with the kids, it's going to influence the adults, it's going to influence the kids, it's going to influence everyone. It's going to just change everything.
Our morale rate is by far the highest in all of the RCMP, and the demand for these officers to be taken to new and different postings is huge. One of the youth officers, Constable Jennifer Freeman, made a connection with a young boy, Andrew, who was in trouble with the law. Jennifer was a role model with him. Now that has spun off for other young people. His friends and peers have seen the connection that he made with Constable Freeman. And I think that just does have a snowball effect, and we can make the same type of intervention with other young people.
I do think that the RCMP care about the kids in their community. It's a different life for me now. It's a happier life for myself and my family.
To see kids that have actually been in a lot of trouble with the police turn their life around makes the job well worthwhile.
Success stories like Andrew's is just one of many success stories that we have, where police officers and young people have connected, and as a result we've been able to help them or keep them out of being in trouble or to get them back on the right track. In 10 years from now, these young people that are now adults will work with us, support us more, and help us in where we want to go with their young people, their children. By focusing on what's important and not urgent, not only are we finding a safer community, we're finding a better relationship, more trust being built, and crime going down. And that's the bottom line.
Okay, so let's go back to our slides. Give me just a second and I will make that happen. So to reiterate, in the original video, Dr. Covey said, live north of the line. So these are just some examples of some of the things that fall into each quadrant. Quadrant 1 is for crises, pressing problems, deadline-driven projects. Quadrant 3 is for needless interruptions, unnecessary reports, unimportant meetings, phone calls, mail, email, text messages, Facebook notifications. Quadrant 4 for trivia, busy work, irrelevant phone calls, time wasters, escape activities, and even things like excessive drug use or alcohol use. And then not urgent, the quadrant 2 is for things like preparation, prevention, planning, relationship building, renewal, values clarification, the very, very important things in life. And so as you can see, the Richmond Police Outpost is really trying their best to do most of their time in quadrant 2 so that they actually reduce the number of urgent things that they have to respond to. So that's great in theory, you're thinking. That's great. I spend less time doing unimportant stuff, more time doing important stuff. But how do I make that happen? So now I'm going to show you yet another video, which is going to give you a mechanism in terms of scheduling so that you can figure out how to put first things first. So I'm going to stop sharing my slides. Hello. And I'm going to go back to the videos. And this time we're going to look at a video called Big Rocks. Now, before I play this video, I have to warn you that the clothing is very 90s, so try not to pay attention to that. Pay attention to the point, because yes, I get that the clothes are pretty funny.
I need a volunteer. How would you like to consider that? You come up here, please. Your name is Elizabeth? Thank you. Good to see you. Elizabeth, you've got, oh, you hold this. Very, very busy life, right?
I do.
You have a work life?
I do.
Family life as well? Children?
Okay.
Not yet? What's the nature of your work assignment?
Consulting.
Consulting? Do you have a part of a firm, consulting firm,
Yes, I do. I direct an international firm.
an international firm? So you really are interfacing with all kinds of people in the firm and outside the firm.
That's right.
You also do direct work with the clients yourself?
That's right.
And you have a number of associates you work with
Mhm.
all around this country and throughout the world, starting?
Yes.
Kind of like us. You want a rich personal life and a rich family life and also community and so forth. Do you ever feel like you get bogged down in the thick of thin things?
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like your life is kind of out of balance, out of whack?
It can be.
Do you ever feel like you're in the pounding surf?
Mm-hmm.
You know, where you just have one big wave after another knock you down, you stagger back, and then here comes another wave, and another one knocks you down to where it just kind of beats you up. Well, that might be analogous to all these little, small things that tend to fill our life. And they just little by little, they just accumulate. Now, your job, you can't go above this. Is to get all those large rocks in the jar. Good luck. I'll describe each rocks as she puts them in. What's that one called?
Q2, planning, preparation.
Right. Planning, preparation, prevention, and empowerment. Q2. That which is not urgent, but important.
Am I picking these up in any order?
Any way you want. You want to get them all in there because they're all important.
Can I leave the room now?
Well, you have the little rocks as they are now, but you can't go above this.
Can I put this down?
Sure. Okay, the next rock she's putting in there is called relationships and family. She's trying to make it so she can get them all in there on the assumption that by moving the other ones around, it makes more space. We didn't look at that third rock and put in there. That's employment, some key employment issue, and then you put major projects here. I can't get it above there. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's fair. That's called Service Community Church. Do you ever feel like this?
Yes.
How many feel like this? Yeah, you can try to get them in there. You're a hands-on person. She just put down the sharpen the saw. How many frequently do that? I just don't have time today to sharpen the saw. You ever been too busy driving to take time to get gas? Vacation's important to her. By moving the little things around, you might squeeze in one more of those big major things. It's almost. Wow, it's good. You know, if it doesn't fit, force it.
Do I really put all of these in there?
Well, no, you can neglect a big opportunity if you want. Here's something that's called urgent and important. It's a quadrant 1 thing that is blindsiding you, that it's your biggest client, that if you don't get back to that client now, you've given up your vacation. And you have no special block of time just for yourself. You have no young children. I'll tell you what you can do if you want to. You can take a whole different approach. You have a totally fresh goal. You can work out of a different paradigm altogether. You can do anything you want.
So I can use that bucket. That's what you're saying.
Anything, yeah.
Well, then I'd rather put these in the bottom. And then for the little pebble on top. Vacation.
Okay, she has sharpening the saw, planning preparation, spouse,
Vacation.
employment,
Big opportunity.
big opportunity,
Important and urgent. Block of time. Community, church. Those young children keep looking at me. Glad my husband's not here. No, I don't these in there.
okay?
It's gonna work.
You got all the important things in first, right?
That's right.
That's good.
Okay, so that was the end of the second video. I will pick up with you in video 3 of 3 for habit 3.